Alright, so basically today we're going to look at, we're going to look at how we're going to process information about the history of communication systems. So essentially we'll be looking at how to make a timeline, okay, how to do that effectively, and then how you're going to process and analyze and process that information. Alright, so to find the data, to start off with, use a Google search. I mean, it's straightforward, it's all there. You can also use your text. Now the text has some but not enough, and look for sites that essentially have tables with dates and lists. Okay, so lists of dates and what happened. Alright, so make a timeline. Okay, so first your scale needs to be as large and even as possible. And it must be even, but it must be as large as possible, and it must be to scale. If it's not to scale, you're wasting your time. There's a formula to work out. It's really simple, and this works with graphs as well, but with slight modification. But if you go years divided by centimeters, okay, that's the really easy way to do your scale. So here's your line, and it turns out you've got a 20 centimeters length and 250 years to cover. So if you go 250 years divided by 20, that gives you 12.5 centimeters. Now that's a bit awkward, so that's where we come to up here where we say round up. If it's a bit slightly awkward number, round up to the next number that makes sense. And if you don't round up, if you round down, then it all falls to hell because your scale extends, and so your scale has to go there, and that can go off the page, and that's not what you want. So round up, and you'll see what I'm saying. So 12.5 years, that's a bit awkward. So if we round that up to 15 years per centimeter, then we get a nice even scale, and we plot it in there. Now remember, you're going to get rid of these lines eventually and just have the important ones, but you can put a few in there as a guide, maybe half, like maybe just 2 or 3 lines in there. Okay, so you want to analyze the information. This stuff needs to go in your conclusion. So you want to consider the widespread effects, okay, and what's happened to people as each information system's been introduced. You want to describe how it's interconnected with other forms. For example, the printing press gave us both the books and the newspapers. Alright, and you want to propose logical connections between the introductions of these things and changes in society. For example, when the Gutenberg press was invented, people became a lot more literate because the written word was a lot more easily available for everyone. And you want to justify, by the way, a generalization about the impacts of all of these systems. So generalization means generally it's true. Usually this is what happens. Alright, so the last thing you want to do is you want to predict future trends in communication systems. Alright, again, this should go into your conclusion. You want to identify trends. A good example is the size and the technology, amount of information you can carry or send, people who use it, and so forth. You want to make statements about how these technologies are going to continue to be used in the future. What's going to happen? For a long time there, people thought phones were just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and they've started to get larger again. Think creatively. There might be links there that other people aren't seeing. There might be links between science fiction and reality. For example, Star Trek. This is a Star Trek communicator, and this is a screen-used Star Trek communicator, and you can see that it essentially looks like a modern mobile phone, a flip phone, but a modern mobile phone nonetheless. Alright, that's it. I hope that was helpful, and I hope that makes tomorrow in class a bit easier.